I'm going to be talking with Jon Hirscktick, the president of SaaS business at PTC and the founder of Onshape and SolidWorks, for a conversation about shaping the future of manufacturing design. Thanks for joining us, Jon. How are you today?
Mark, I'm doing great. It's great to be here. Really enjoyed the first speakers today.
Thank you. Thanks, Jon. So first, I'd like to get the audience involved here with the poll question that we have for today. A reminder, I think you can see it there now. It appears in the slide box on your screen, and you can register your response now. So the question is, how has your business been affected by COVID-19? Devastated beyond recognition, impacted but now slowly rebuilding, or you gained a competitive edge. Let's see how our audience is reacting. I think at the moment it is impacted but slowly rebuilding is more than half the audience. A few devastated beyond recognition, which is obviously a difficult place to be in. And about a quarter said they gained a competitive edge. So that's interesting. 70%, I think, are now saying impacted but slowly rebuilding. So, Jon, how does that square with what you've been seeing with your clients at Onshape?
Well, I think we've been seeing a similar distribution, perhaps, Mark, where there's a lot of people in that middle area. But I would add that everyone is going through some form of disruption. Even the people who gain an edge or have more demand, more opportunity, that's a positive factor, but it's still a disruption. So 100% of people we see are changing or being disrupted in some way.
What about your own business? I mean, how have you been affected by the pandemic?
Well, in our own business at PTC and at Onshape in particular, we're one of the product line businesses within PTC. We see COVID giving us both headwinds and tailwinds. So, so to speak, there's positive factors and negative factors. On the negative side, we sell to the world's product developers and manufacturers. And of course, many of them, as you see in the survey, there's some that are going through horrible times, going out of business. Others are working hard to rebuild. And so the economic impact on the economy overall is felt by us as a negative. On the other hand, we have enormous tailwinds created by COVID because we supply tools. In my unit, the SaaS unit with Onshape, we are the only full cloud, fully SaaS tool set for product developers in our market. That's what we built with Onshape. And so we have a new appreciation in the market. An advantage for us is the market is suddenly saying, wow, we really value a full cloud, full SaaS solution. We really value the advantages it gives to remote and distributed work, to agility, to innovation. And so in that sense, the market has given us a tailwind due to COVID. And we think the headwinds will go away as the economy recovers, but the tailwinds, the positive factors for Onshape and for PTC are here to stay.
When you and I were talking a bit earlier before we came on camera today, we were talking, you said something I thought was quite striking, which is agility is the premium at this point. That is a critical factor in implementing the innovation that you may have come up with. What do you mean by agility is the premium?
I think that companies are realizing that no matter what's around the next corner, it's going to involve something that they didn't expect. And so they've put a big premium on their ability to rethink. And you heard our earlier speakers talking about rethinking supply chains a bit, rethinking how teams work together. And so I think what is going to stay is a realization, what's going to be a constant is a realization that there are a few constants. And while before you might have said, hey, we'll set up our supply chain for cost optimization or quality optimization, that would have been, and we'll lay that in place and know that we're getting the best price. Today, I think people are going to lay it in place and say, we need to know we're going to be agile. We need to know that if something happens in this country, that's going to disrupt our supply chain that we can move somewhere else. We need to know that if this product um, enters a market that suddenly changes due to something, we need to be able to respond to that much faster. So there's a big premium on agility. It's like looking at athletes. Sometimes you look for athletes that are powerful, and sometimes you look like, in any sport, for people who can move around quickly. And right now, you still need all the skills, you still need all the attributes, but there's a much bigger premium on agility now.
One thing that I learned looking into your background that I'm not sure a lot of people know is that you're actually a champion blackjack player, right? And you started playing,
Yeah.
was it competitively at MIT? Which I just think is such an interesting kind of window into someone and their personality. But how has being an expert in blackjack, has that changed the way you do business overall, or changed the way you think about business in say a pandemic, for example?
Well, Mark, yes, it's true. I was on the MIT blackjack team, and we were a team of people who played blackjack professionally using only legal techniques to just play with skill and win money. And if you've seen, there's a couple of books, there's a bunch of TV shows about it. If you've seen any of those, the movie and the books have truth in them, but also a lot of fiction. So I want to make it clear that some of what you saw in the movie is fictional and wasn't anything I was involved in. Anyway, it was a great experience. We won money. We learned a lot. And I did learn things that helped me in business generally, and to a lesser degree during COVID. Generally in business, I learned about how to think about what the long run truly is versus small sample sizes. I constantly see people in business taking a small sample of data and overgeneralizing, whereas in blackjack, I learned that the long run is longer than most people think. I also learned a little bit about innovation and entrepreneurship. I learned that when I started playing blackjack, most people around me told me it was a bad idea and gave me a long list of reasons why it would never work. And it turns out it was a good idea and it worked great. And it taught me a lesson that just because a lot of people think something is a bad idea doesn't mean that it is a bad idea. It might be a good idea. And then blackjack taught me improvisation, think on your feet, because things come up in the casino that you didn't anticipate, and you have to respond to those. And that is really good training for the current climate, where you have to improvise, and you have to work as a team to figure out what to do in a changing situation. That was always true in business to a degree, but like an earlier speaker said, the things we're learning in COVID, they were there. The tools that we're using, they were there. It's just we weren't pushed to use them as much, and now we are.
In following up on that idea of improvisation, has anything surprised you in terms of what your clients have been asking for? Has anything really stood out as something that you did not expect?
Well, one thing that surprised me, Mark, from our clients is what they're not asking for. What's interesting is with the cloud, we're a fully cloud, full SaaS system. We're the only one in our market. You might find that hard to believe, but cloud is sort of a new thing. And you noted our earlier speaker, Omer, felt the need to tell this audience that they had done something bold. They had put their designs in the cloud. Well, I don't think that a lot of industries would find that bold. Younger people would say, what? What do you mean? Why would that be a special idea? Well, so anyway, one of the things that has happened is surprisingly how well cloud has proven to work. Not to me surprising, but to a lot of people. It works so well that no one's even talking about how well it works. The cloud, the internet, if you had said 6 months ago, 4 months ago, hey, the world's going to go home and everyone's going to video conference, everyone's going to be using cloud tools all the time, what's going to happen to the internet? People would have said, well, I don't know. It wouldn't hold up to that, would it? Well, it's held up great. It's held up so great. No one's talking about it. So what's interesting and surprising is people aren't even, what's happened is cloud is now the new reliable. in the new normal, cloud tools are working, they're easy to use. Whereas if you had installed software on that big workstation back at the office, where the engineering office is, well, how's that working out for you? Not well. And so all of a sudden it's the installed software systems. So customers are asking us, how quickly can we move? We were talking to you 6 months ago, but now we really want to talk to you. Or they're now saying we didn't understand before what the difference was between full cloud and just and partial cloud. Where it's one thing to just sort of copy files to and from cloud servers, but that doesn't really improve the way your team works as much as using a full cloud real-time system. So they're saying, hey, we get those differences. How fast can we move?
Right, right. Well, thank goodness
Can
for
I
the
add one
internet,
more
so we
thing?
can have the.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, one more thing, if I can. They're also saying, one thing our customers are asking us more these days is, how can you help us change our process in the way we work? How can you help us adopt a more agile process? How can you help us be more innovative? We don't just want to take the old software we were using and start using Onshape because it's cloud-based. We don't want to work the same way we're working. We want to adopt Onshape and use it to work differently. Can you help us with that? Can you tell us how we could get our workers to think differently? That is a
Right,
really interesting thing happening.
right. Well, thank you, John. We've run out of time here before we head over to our next conversation, but I want to thank you for joining us from Boston. So thanks.